Jamestown 8, we're at 15 in Bemidji with snow still being reported there. Fergus Falls 10 degrees. You can see in the background here a snow plow going by with its lights on there. And then in Devil's Lake only 3 degrees with the snow still being reported there too. So there are some places even in eastern North Dakota where we're still getting some light snow. Visibility is low. Our wind chills are low. We're looking at 21 below in Devil's Lake and in Langdon, a wind chill of 12 below in Fargo. So it's going to feel so much colder than yesterday morning when we factor in that wind. And here's a look at our gusts. They're out of the northwest. We're seeing gusts into the 30s to near 40. No current 40s on the map in our viewing area right now. But the steady speeds themselves, 20s to about 30 miles per hour. That's just that unrelenting wind that's going to be a problem for us. Here's a look at those visibilities now. You can see we still have a little light snow up in Devil's Lake and Langdon, but the bulk of the more substantial snow is now east. So Crookston, Mahnomen, we're at a half-mile visibility there in both locations. Less than a mile in Elbow Lake, a quarter-mile visibility right now in Wahpeton. So that's getting into that blizzard-like kind of range when you get to quarter-mile visibility or less. And then in Detroit Lakes, Park Rapids, and Bemidji, we're at about a mile visibility. So still really struggling along the Red River and places east where that snow happens to be falling. And here's a look at that radar. You can see it's been rolling from west to east with the heavier snow in the deeper blues into Minnesota now. Still some light flakes coming down into eastern North Dakota. Let's move into the Southern Valley. Again, it's starting to taper off a bit in Fargo, so starting to see that ease up. We're seeing that heavier snow also kind of moving on from that I-94 corridor here shortly. We'll see that happen. But if you're up in Detroit Lakes, if you're in the eastern parts of Otter Tail County, back up into Clay, Ada, Mahnomen areas, and back over toward Fosston, you've got some heavier snow heading your way or affecting you right now. So here's a look at our latest alerts. We've got a winter storm warning in our eastern viewing area. That is until 10 a.m. It may not be kept around that long given how much snow we're seeing moving off to the east. We'll see what happens with that one. Winter weather advisory for many areas in the valley still until 8 a.m. Some of our communities in the west were removed from that advisory as the snow has started to move on, and that may get trimmed as the morning goes along. But still not an easy day out there even after the snow ends. Looking a lot quieter in Grand Forks at the moment. And here's why. These are our temperatures ahead of us today in Grand Forks. Single digits with winds that are steady in the 20s all day long. Even if the gusts aren't as intense as they've been, we'll still have some strong winds, and it's going to make it feel cold all day. That kind of weather, as Aaron was just mentioning, you don't want to get caught out in it. So make sure you're prepared and being careful out there today in this latest blast of winter. So more on this coming up in your hour-by-hour planner and just how much more snow we can expect to see in the valley.
Yeah, tricky conditions out there. Lisa, thank you. The weather system that swept across the middle of the country brought tornadoes and destructive wind gusts. Courtney Keeley shows us just some of the damage.
A powerful weather system ripped across much of the Great Plains and Midwest yesterday. More than a dozen tornadoes were reported in several states, with some areas seeing their first ever December twisters.
Power went out, so we had to just run downstairs. It was really fast.
These Iowa barns were torn to shreds.
Oh, there it goes.
And a wall of this grocery store that was recently hit by a fire collapsed. Strong winds knocked over this semi-truck in Kansas and derailed this train in Oklahoma. In Colorado, winds reached 107 miles per hour, kicking up tumbleweeds. A massive dust storm swept over Boulder while also creating a rainbow. Courtney Keeley, CBS News.
Those high winds also destroyed a barn in central Wyoming with nearly 24 horses in it. All of them are okay, though. Police also blocked off nearby roads to protect drivers from scraps of metal. You can see the damage that was done when they hit vehicles that were blowing around in that area. In Australia, 4 children are dead. Another 5 are critically injured after they fell 32 feet from a bouncy castle that lifted into the air by wind. It was at a school event. Kids were celebrating the end of the school year there when that high wind hit. 2 boys and 2 girls were killed. A use of force expert says former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter was not justified in using deadly force when she fatally shot Dante Wright in Brooklyn Center earlier this year. USC Law School professor Seth Stoughton testified yesterday that no reasonable officer could have believed that shooting Wright was necessary as he tried to run from an attempted arrest. His testimony undercut a defense claim that Potter would have been justified in shooting Wright, even if she had intended to, though she says she meant to pull her taser. Prosecutors say even an intended use of taser on Wright would have violated her department's policy. If you had a flight this morning out of Fargo, you might have to think again. Many flights are grounded across the country. We check on their current status. These cancellations started last night, leaving some stranded in the metro, even though it wasn't even part of their travel plans.